Hello, my name is Claude Taylor, and you are now watching the How To Plumbing Channel. I am proud to say that the How To Plumbing Channel have saved people millions of dollars, time and frustration. Now they can take the extra money that they have saved watching the How To Plumbing videos and spend it on something else that they really needed, on like food, bills, the kids, or take that vacation you could never afford before. Now let's see what the How To Plumbing Channel can do for you. Become a subscriber today, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. You want to keep up with the latest How To Plumbing videos coming out? Hit that notification bell, and I will see you in the next How To Plumbing video. Thanks for watching. You can find and buy any of the plumbing supplies and tools seen in this video at the How To Plumbing Amazon store by hitting the link in the description box below. With all that said, I would like to offer a challenge, yes, to you guys, the YouTubers that are watching this right now. In the description box below, describe to me what would be the best place and the most creative way that you can install an Upflush in your home or anywhere else. I would just love to see how creative you guys could be. And if you have any inputs on the review of this video, also put that in the description box below. I would like you guys to know that this is not a paid advertisement. The representatives over at Saniflo did provide the toilet and the grinder pump assembly. Thanks to them, I can produce a how-to plumbing video and something for my viewers. Now let's talk about the Upflush toilet review. The people over at Saniflo emailed me one day and they asked if I could videotape and review their product. They actually specialize in pumping systems, but they have developed a system to where you can actually install a toilet just about anywhere that you can think of, and they use a small pump to make this works. So the toilet actually flows out the back and flows into a tank and is pushed out to the system after everything is ground up. And be sure to watch to the end of the video when this is when we will talk about the things that you don't want to put down in this particular toilet. Actually, these are the same things that you wouldn't want to put down any toilet. But anyway, I texted them back and I said, yeah, I'd be sure. I'd be glad to review your toilet. So they sent me out the toilet and all the working components that make this system work. Now the brain of the whole thing is the flush tank itself behind the toilet. It's a grinder as well as a pump. So the material that goes in there, the waste and tissue, whatever goes into there, is grind up and to little pieces and is flushed up throughout a 3/4 inch line, which is really good. And you can flush it up to 15 feet vertical and about 100 feet or so horizontal. So, you know, with that in mind, that makes it very easy to install this toilet just about anywhere that you can think of. That's why I would like to challenge you guys, because there's so many things that you can do with this. And once I got this toilet and started working on it, all kind of ideas started going through my head, and I started realizing, like, wow, this is a game changer here. I mean, they have been out for a while, but I don't think that a lot of people have just caught on to this so much. But as you continue to watch this video and see how this toilet is installed and how easy it is and how versatile it is, I think you might be just as impressed as I have been. I'm an old school plumber. I mean, all toilets are set on the floor, flush out to the bottom, or they flush out to the back, a commercial toilet. But this one here in particular, I mean, anywhere. This toilet can just about put anywhere, and there's endless possibilities. As a matter of fact, this is the area I chose to put my Upflush toilet. Down in my work area up under the home. It's like a little small garage or whatever. It's where I have my plumbing tools, my yard tools, and things of that nature. And putting it here seemed like the best spot for me because now when I need to, you know, wash my hands or go upstairs or anything, I don't actually have to go upstairs and track dirt and stuff through the house. I can just go straight to the my work area. You can see that why this would be a great ideal toilet for someone that spends a lot of time in the garages or work areas. Okay, right there in the corner, right there. Excuse the mess. This is where I decided to, right here, right there. I decided to put the upflush toilet right here. This is a good spot for me. And on the side of the upflush toilet, another great thing is that I can add a an additional plumbing fixture, which I'm going to add a utility sink in case I have to come down here and wash brushes or lawn tools or anything like that. I can do it all down here without tracking up through upstairs. And now, with all that said, this is the coupler that will attach the toilet from the pumping system to the tank itself. And there's also an extension if you wanted to add an extension to it. I'll show you that throughout the video also. But here is the this is just the coupling that connects the two together. And you can see how flexible it is. It makes it easy to work with and give you some room in case you need room to maneuver your toilet or tank around. This is the extension that goes to the toilet. Just in case, if you want to extend the toilet out much further away from the pumping system itself, you can do that. And me, I would recommend, if you're going to do this, I wouldn't recommend putting it behind drywall. I would recommend, if you do anything of that nature, I would recommend that you make an access to the pumping system just in case you need it for future use and need to get into it. Right here you can see how flexible the coupling could be. Now with the extension part, it just goes right over the I guess you would call it the horn of the toilet that comes out the back there, and it just squeezes up and compresses right around that horn and gets a nice tight seal. So there's no additional things you need to add to it like a band or anything to tighten it down. It's nice and tight with the seal when it's pushed up on there. Now, however, we will need a band right there at the back part, right at the grinding pump itself. We'll need a band there, and also you've seen that I put a tie back there to tie down the back part that came with the system. Now, this is the extension, and you can see how much further that you can extend the toilet out if need be. I mean, some people may want to hide the tank behind some type of wall or anything like that. And like again I said, if you're going to do something like that, please keep in mind to make it to where it's in a spot where you have access to the grinding pump itself. So now without the extension, we remove the extension, and this is what we're going to do. This is what I end up doing anyway, because I really don't need the extension in the area that I'm working in. I'm sure some of you out there probably have some great creative ideas, and that extension will come in handy for you. But right now, all I want to do is just hook mine directly up to the grinder pump because I don't need the room. Actually, I need the room but I don't need it taking up more room in my work area than I already have. And you can see the coupler just flips on around the horn of the toilet, the back end of the toilet, and we're going to take that hanger right there at the bottom, clamp, I'm sorry, and stainless steel clamp, and we're going to clamp it down onto the horn of the toilet. And that will keep it nice and tight in place and sealed. And if you've noticed that I do have cardboard on the floor because I don't want to take any chances while I'm moving this around. I don't want to take any chances and crack any of the ceramic to the bowl itself. But once I am done, I will remove that the cardboard and just put a little caulk around the bottom part of it. Okay, now here I've taken it back apart because I'm not putting it in place just yet. But right here, this is the discharge elbow that will go to the left side right there. You see, we're going to push that in place, and it's going to slip into a socket and lock in place. And on top of that, we're going to add a stainless steel clamp to hold it down even better, because there's going to be quite a bit of pressure that does come out of this tank when it grinds and pump the waste up into the system. And this particular one here is 3/4 inch, and if you want to you can run 3/4 inch, and you can also run 1-inch pipe up into the drain itself. In this particular case, I'm just going to use 3/4 inch. That should be sufficient. And again, this is the discharge 90. This is the end that comes out and pushes all the waste out and up into the system. And this will push it up from specs at least 16 to 15 feet vertical and over 100 feet or more horizontally. So that gives you some idea that this can really be used almost anywhere, because this got quite a bit of force to remove the waste, and you don't have to have the drain immediately, the main sewer drain immediately right at the toilet itself. And this is a piece of flexible 3/4 inch pipe that they send with the unit itself. At the other end, I will be adapting to regular pressured PVC piping. And again, we're going to use another stainless steel clamp to clamp this part down. Even though we squeezed it on there and it was tight to get it on there, we still want to take extra precautions and add the hardware that it came with. Now this system did come with quite a bit of hardware. You're not necessarily going to use all of it, depending on the application and how you're going to use the pump and where you're going to put it. All the applications may not apply to you. And this is going to be the vent for the grinder pump. This is a inch and a half 90 that we're going to use. It's very flexible, and I'm sure that they made it so that it would adapt to the top of here, and we can install the stainless steel band, because other than that they would have to have it glued, and that wouldn't be a good solution to glue that, because now if there's any issues in the future, you can just pull these things right off from the stainless steel bands itself, just in case there's someone out there that has a question, why don't you glue them? Well, that wouldn't be a good idea in this situation. You want to make it to where you can get access to it. Now on the other end of this 90 coming out, then we will start attaching the PVC inch and a half pipe vent and running it out to the outside. And here I'm coming upstairs. This is the bathroom that's just above where I'm working, and this is where I'm going to tie my hot and cold water lines into, right up here. And that's the P-trap for the tub that we just left from upstairs. And we're going to drill 2 holes here, one for hot, one for cold, going straight up to the back side of that shower valve, where we can connect our new water lines and bring them down into the work area. And the particular pipe that I'm going to use for this is, I've got a lot of pipe laying around, of course, from previous jobs. I'm going to use some PEX pipe, Ubenor PEX pipe, and I'm going to use SharkBite fittings. And keep in mind, when you do use SharkBite fittings, you want access, some type of access to the fittings itself, just in case there's some issues down the road. And this is something that they recommend. A lot of officials recommend that if you're going to use SharkBite, that you have some type of access to them. All right, we drilled both holes. As you can see, and those are the 2 holes going up to the back side of the tub and the tub and shower valve. Okay, now I am just about ready to start setting this in place. And right there, that outlet right there, that's the extra outlet, and there's also one on the other side. That's an inlet for the waste. So on this side here, I'm going to tie my utility sink into this, so it'll drain into this and be flushed up through the system. And this piece here is a cover piece, and that piece can be cut so that you can fit the pipe up in there, and I'll show you that later. And that's the stainless steel band that we're going to use. And inch and a half pipe is going to come out the side of this. It could be inch and a half, inch and a quarter, but we're going to use inch and a half. And right now I am putting it on here temporarily. And these are the valves that I'm going to use up under the sink and the toilet itself. Of course, they're not in the box, but this is the box I wanted to show you in case you wanted to pick something up like this, and you'll know what to get. This is a 1/2 inch by 3/8 compression. And And this is where we're going to screw that valve into right now. In place, what I have is three. One for hot, one for cold, and one for the toilet. These are drop ear 90s. And these particular ones here are made for PEX pipe, PEX tubing. And it is Ubenor, only used for Ubenor. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these back out, and we're going to use SharkBite. Like I said in this video, I'm trying to make this as easy as I can, to connection as easy as I can, and simplify it as simple as I can for everyone out there to that can get a grasp of it. And if it helps them out, great. I don't want to get too technical because I know everyone out there is not a plumber. And here is another look at the extension. If you decide to go ahead and use the extension on here, like I was saying, I'm trying to make this video as easy as possible, using the simplest tools and material that we can use, because I know everyone out there don't have the expensive tools that a lot of plumbers, as we plumbers, use. And I know we can get very technical when we start talking plumbing and explaining and trying to show people. So now if you look right here, you can see how much space you have to work with, how far you can extend that toilet out to. Again, if there's someone creative out there this is useful, great. Me personally, I'm going to remove it and get it close to the wall as I can. Here's another nice feature to the extension you might like. Again, if you're going to put it behind drywall and you cut that hole, you want to make that hole nice and neat. This is called an escutcheon. All the little silver plates you see up under your sinks and things like that, it's shiny. Those are escutcheons. So it's more or less of a decorative piece that goes on there. So it comes with that. This is just in case anyone's out there interested in using the extension. This is what you can do. And this is right up to the grinder pump itself. This is the one I prefer right now because this works best for me. And there's the 1.5-inch vent and the 1.5-inch, the 3/4 inch discharge. Now you can see why I should have put the tank on before I put this in place. Actually, it would have been a little easier to get access to it. And all I'm doing right here now is marking it for the mounting bolts to mount it down to the cement floor. So I'm going to take a hammer drill, and drill down and put some anchors in there and anchor the toilet down so it'll be nice and tight and secure to the floor. Okay, what I've done here is I'm putting my valves in place, my stub out. So now I know exactly where to run the line where I need to run it. Uh, and these are the bolts that I'll be using to bolt down the bowl to the cement floor. I've already drilled my holes in the cement. Now, as you can see, I've inserted the anchor bolts, the anchors, down into the cement. See the little red anchors? And from here, all I have to do now is screw the toilet bolts down into that, and that's going to be nice, snug, and tight. And once that's in place, then I'm able to set the bowl in place and anchor it down, of course. Okay, I've got both of the toilet bolts in place, and this is the part that I like. I don't have to mess with any messy wax ring because there's no outlet at the bottom. It's coming out the back. And now that I've got it in place exactly where I want it, now I can actually start working on the back and connecting the coupler to it. And this is probably the tricky part because it's really hard to kind of get into that area. But like I said, the very flexible, and you have a lot of movement that helps with the adjustment. Now the pieces to tie up this coupler. This is one of the ties that it comes with, and that tie is going to be used on the back end where the grinder pump is. And on the front part where it ties into the little horn that comes out the back of the toilet, that's going to be tightened down with a stainless steel clamp. And here's the 3-inch stainless steel clamp. Now this is probably one of the hardest parts to do of this application because it's in a little tight area, but once you got it, you're good. So it was a little tricky working in this little spot here. Okay, now we're ready to install the toilet bolts to bolt it down to the floor. And the reason I didn't do it right away is because I wanted to have a chance to have a little more play in the bowl while I was working on connecting the coupling in the back. So now that that's done, I can go ahead and secure the toilet to the floor. Yeah, the crescent wrench was making it a little hard for me to get in there, so I went and got a boxed in wrench. Now I'm going to set the tank in place. And again, before early in the video I mentioned that I would recommend installing this tank first before we'd actually done what we just did, connecting it to the coupling, because it was kind of difficult getting the tank on because of the tight space that I had to work in. But I mean, I managed to get it. It worked out okay. But it would have been a lot easier if I had done it before I set the bowl in place. And if you notice, you look in the inside of it, it's set up just like any average toilet that you might see. The inside of any average toilet you see. And there is one difference that you'll see closer to the end of the video. As it fills up, it doesn't use the refill tube like most toilets do. But other than that, it works just the same as any other toilet, other than being grinded and pumped up to the sewer system. And again, installing the tank top is no different than installing it on any other toilet. We got our tank to bowl bolts, and there's our tank to bowl gasket that I'm putting on now. Now the set of tank bolts that it comes with, the kit, I'm not crazy about the set that comes with it. I prefer they've got a set of tank to bowl kit that Gerber makes, and they seem to do they're a lot easier to work with. Let's put it that way. Now you can see why it would have been easier if I installed the tank first, because now I have to reach up under there with my hands and try to blindly tighten the bolts down to the tank and bowl. And it really didn't kill me, but it would have been easy if I had done it first before I set it in place. Now, they make many different types of toilet seats, but if you do get one, particularly like this one, and if you buy the set here that I'm showing here, this is how this toilet seat goes on. They all don't go exactly the same, but this one here, I guess the toilet seats that they supply with this set, and it's fairly easy. Now, even though that I have the toilet set in place where I want it to be, there's still more work to be done. I still have to run the water lines to the toilet and the utility sink that I'll be installing alongside of it. And also I have the vent pipe to run, and the discharge, the sewer discharge that pumps it up into the main sewer system. You know, one thing I noticed about this toilet, this is a pretty large toilet. It's not small like you would think. It's a elongated, which is one of the most popular toilets that everybody gets. Not too many people want round front anymore. And also the comfort height. This is just about the height as a comfort height toilet. So it's a nice sized toilet. And now what I'm showing you here is the sewer drain up above where I'll be tying into. So we're going to get started, and what I'm going to do is just prefab a piece up that's going to fit right where I want the discharge to discharge to. This here in the field, we call these mission bands. And this particular mission band, of course, is 2-inch. And you can read the label right there on the side. It says 2-inch CIPL, and that means cast iron or plastic. So it's made for PVC pipe or cast iron pipe. So now I'm back on the prefab part, and prefab means nothing more than just getting it ready to go in place rather than trying to build it in the spot where it is. This way, if I build it out here, I can just walk in there, make my cuts, and slip it right in. And this is Christy glue. This is the glue and primer that I prefer. I don't really care for the purple stuff, but as you can see, it really makes a mess. Sometimes you just can't do it neat enough. But anyway, this is Christy glue, and this is some of the best PVC glue that's out there, at least my opinion. If you're used to using the other type of glue that's kind of clear, you'll learn that with the Christy glue you do have to work a little faster because the stuff, it sets up really fast. One thing to keep in mind, once you glue that together and push it together, always make a turn. Turn the pipe inside the fitting. This would help alleviate any voids that are in there to make sure you have a nice, tight seal. And this wide, this is a 2-inch wide with an 1.5-inch outlet, and this is and what I'm using here, it is a bushing. This is an 1.5-inch by 3/4-inch bushing, so it bushes it down to 3/4 inch, and that's where we're going to run the 3/4 inch into that spot right there. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to fold the gaskets over, because you'll see once we go to put it in place, it makes it a lot easier to fit in the spot we need to go, and we don't have to fight it and try to pull the pipes apart. This will make it a lot easier. And this is a trick that a lot of plumbers use. Okay, now that part's made up, and now it's all ready to go in here. But first we're going to cut a section out, and we're going to cut a section out that's going to be the width of the prefab fittings that I put together, so that we can just easily slide it right in place, flip the gaskets back over, slide the mission bands, stainless steel bands over it, and just go ahead and tighten it down. Obviously, someone's been doing some work here before. I've only been in the house probably about a little less than 2 years. Some of you that know me and seen some of my other videos, you know that the house that I was renting got flooded out. Now I do have a house that I'm actually purchasing, and this is it. And I am sure that I will be doing a lot more plumbing in the future on this house, as well as other things. Now you can see right here where I got it in place, and what I'm going to do is just mark right where I need to cut it. So that's the section I need to cut out. By the way, you can do this just as easy with basically any saw, any kind of PVC saw. This saw, I love it. I mean, I wouldn't know what to do without it. You can see how quick and easy it is to work with this saw. And you can purchase this saw or anything that you see in this video at the How To Amazon Plumbing Store. Link is in the description below. Now you can see just how easy it was to squeeze that right in place just by having it pre-made up and ready to go. Now, in case you're wondering if there happens to be some type of backup in the system, will it affect the grinder pump? No. They built the grinder pump with a check valve, and the check valve means that it would allow waste to go only one way and not back the other way. So once it's discharged from the grinder pump, it will not come back into that pump, so that's not a concern. Okay, now we've got this in place. Now I'm going to start running the 3/4 inch PVC pipe down to the grinder pump itself. And if you're going to do this, when you do run this 3/4 inch PVC piping, and the fittings you're going to use, do not use 90s. Use 45s. These are 45s that I'm using. It will give you a better opportunity for flow of water or waste. And if we do put any type of 90s on there, we'd be probably taking a chance of having some type of stoppage and buildup. The 45s will give it a nice flow and make the corners really easy to go through. And this is one of the adapters to go from the tubing that they have on the grinder pump coming out, the discharge. And I'm going to use that fitting, and I'm going to adapt it to the ones that I purchased at the store to go along with this. Now, the company, they did provide the toilet and the grinder pump, but the utility sink and some of the other accessories and stuff, I did purchase that myself. And right here in this little section here is probably the most crucial part. You want to make sure that it's tightened down real good, because, and again, these attachments are needed just in case there's future issues that you need to pull things apart and pull it out. Hey, you might want to move and take that toilet to another place with you. I mean, and I can't emphasize enough, PVC 45s, right there that I'm holding in my hand right there is a PVC 45, no elbows, no 90s. And this is it all connected, and this is where the grinder pump will pump all the waste up and out. And what I'm doing here, I've already pieced it together, but I haven't glued anything together. So what I'm doing is taking a magic marker and marking the spots where I like it to glue and the angles I like it to have it in. And once I pull it apart in one piece and take it out to the outside and glue it together, I can put it back exactly how it is here in the same position. So that way I can put it in here in one piece and don't have to fiddle around piecing it together piece by piece over the toilet and spilling glue and primer on the toilet. And this is another trick that a lot of plumbers use. Okay, it's all glued together. I came here and put it all in one piece and glued it back to the top part, and now it's in. And here's the utility sink I was telling you about that I'm going to install as well. It wasn't anything really expensive. This is a nice little glazier bay faucet I got for like 20 bucks. Before I like to do before I install a faucet or a utility sink like this, I like to actually just pre-assemble things on it first, and then that way I don't have to climb up under it and fight with it to get access. This way now it's going to be on there and nice and secure, and all I have to do is just turn this utility sink around and put it in the spot where it's going to go. And one thing I didn't notice until I purchased it and got it home is that the faucet didn't come with any supply nuts. Back in the days, I mean, it was standard for any faucet that you bought. It come with the supply nuts, but this particular one, it didn't, and that's probably because most people today are using the braided supply lines that already have them on there. But me, I purchased the hard little copper ones, little soft copper ones, because they were cheaper, and I just happened to find these. These are the supply nuts I was talking about, and I just happened to find those laying around the garage, so I didn't have to make another trip. And these supply lines, they're a lot cheaper than the braided supply lines, the stainless steel braided ones. But they're not as easy to work with as the braided supply lines. And I would recommend, if you're going out to get it and you don't want to have to cut the pipe to fit with the tubing cutters, that you get the braided supply lines. I just got this because I was being cheap. As you probably know, I am an old school plumber, so back in the day these were only supply lines we used all the time. As a matter of fact, they were the only ones that were code approved, but things have changed. Just like a lot of times the PEX piping and a lot of the new materials they come out with today, some of them haven't been code approved, but that doesn't mean that they're not a good product. Sometimes they just have to go through that phase where the lawmakers and the guys that write the code books eventually catch up to the new materials that's out. Now, the reason I'm removing the nipples off of this is because I'm going to change these out. At first, I was going to use these the Ubenor brass fittings. And like I said previously in the video, I wanted to make this as simple, as easy as possible for almost anyone to understand. So that's why I'm removing the Ubenor fittings, because I realize that most people don't own a Ubenor expander tool to connect the Ubenor fittings. So in this video, I'm just going to show you a simpler way to do it using this here. These are going to be the same type of elbow fittings, except for these are going to be SharkBites. Some people call them push fittings. And with this, all we have to do is push it in. Now, one thing you might want to keep in mind, a lot of the officials, inspectors and stuff, you can see the two differences right there, the Ubenor and the SharkBite fitting. As I was saying, a lot of the officials and inspectors, a lot of them don't have a problem with the SharkBites, but a lot of them will ask that you install SharkBites in an area where you can have access to it. SharkBite is another fitting, another type of plumbing that's come along, and the rules haven't caught up with it yet. I mean, me personally, I think it's a good product and it works good, but it's yet to be seen by other plumbing officials. So they are kind of skeptical of these fittings, as well as some of the plumbers today. A lot of the old school plumbers, I mean, a lot of this stuff is it just haven't caught on. I'm an old school plumber, and there are plumbing materials that I see coming out today, and back then, was it going to work? Was it going to catch on? But I also understand that time moves on and things change, and we have to accept some of the changes that come along with it. I know back in the day when they first came out with the PEX pipe, I was like, wow, what is this? I was used to running copper pipe and soldering pipe together. Now you don't even have to solder copper pipe together. Now you have a ProPress tool and you use ProPress fittings, so you don't have to even light up a torch anymore. And I'm just kind of putting some Teflon tape on the nipple. Every time you put one on and you're going to screw a fitting together, you want to put Teflon tape or some pipe dope on there just for that extra seal. And the Teflon tape that I'm using here is called Monster Tape. And back to speaking of old school, I'm still using the hard, rigid nipple pipes that come out the wall because I like to, when I reach up under there to cut the valves off and on, I want to feel some type of firmness, make sure that everything's okay in the wall. But nowadays, they do install some of the new PEX fittings and PVC fittings, pipe, and they come straight out the wall with that stuff, and it's just real loose, and it's something that I just can't get used to. So on my videos, you can always see me come out with the hard, rigid nipples, just like this here. One of these is galvanized and one's brass. This is stuff I had laying around the garage, so I'm using it. And I do get a lot of questions. What's better, brass nipple or galvanized nipple? Of course, brass is it's a more superior metal, but so is gold. It depending on the person's price and what you got in your pocket. Galvanized pipes are not bad pipes. A lot of times galvanized are pulled out of homes because it's old pipe. Okay, you can see I have the connection up here. And I'm just going over it kind of one more time. All right, now I'm kind of jumping around, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go from there to the vent piping. And this is going to be 1.5 inch PVC vent pipe. And the elbow is the inlet for the air that comes inside the grinder tank. And of course it's going to go right there at that top right there, and I'm going to crank that down. And let's make this nice, tight, and secure. And once I do have that in place, I'll start piecing it together. It's important to know, and I'll probably mention this again to you, it's important that this particular grinder pump is vented out separate and not joined to the house plumbing and connected to the house venting system, but you do want to run this out separately by itself to the open air. And I'm going to jump back to the, while I'm down here, go ahead and jump to the drain for the utility sink. And this is the coupler that I'm going to use to connect the, this is also going to be 1.5 inch. As you can see, that coupler can be used 2 different ways. Just to close the outlet down there off if you're not going to use it. Or what I'm going to do here is we're going to cut the top off of this here, the the cap part. And this is going to allow us to put the 1.5-inch PVC pipe into here and extend it on out and build our drain for our utility sink. And this is going to be held together with the stainless steel bands. And we're doing nothing more than just doing a little overview and kind of looking things over before we continue on to doing what we need to do. And again, this is the 1.5-inch vent pipe going to the outside. Now I'm going to show you the outside where it's running. And now I'm out here. I will run it up this wall on the outside wall and 2 foot above the window. And we will come back to the vent pipe that's venting out to the through the wall and up the side wall of the house. Right now I'm going to get started on the water line. And I've already pre-drilled my holes. This is blue 1/2-inch PEX pipe. This is the homeowner type of pipe, and this is the one that I prefer the most. I don't really care for the PEX tubing, the Zern type. Okay, the good thing about the SharkBite plumbing fittings is simple. You don't need any tools. All we're going to do is take this PEX pipe here, and we're just going to push it in place, and it's going to lock in place, and it's going to be sealed tight. Again, like I said, if you're going to do something like this, depending on what area of the country or municipality you live in, you might want to check with your plumbing codes. Some officials may not, they may frown down on the PEX pipe and the SharkBite fittings. Where I'm at right now, this is kind of unrestricted, and everything's being exposed where I'm at anyway right now. You can get to anything. And the good thing about this, in the future, if I decide to move, I can actually probably just take this toilet with me. Now the only time I'm going in this video I'm going to use the homeowner PEX expander is right here in this little section here, because I don't have an extra T SharkBite fitting. but I do have plenty of the Ubenor tees, so this is the only spot I'm gonna put it at. And this is the expander tool I was telling you about. I mean, if you're going to do quite a bit of this, and if you are a plumber, if you're interested in it, this expander tool will save you a lot of time and money. And once that fitting is inside that PEX tubing around that coupling, and it shrinks back to where it's supposed to go, nothing's pulling that apart. From the Pro expansion tool to the SharkBite fitting, and all I'm going to do is take this pipe and just push it down in place, and it's going to lock and be sealed tight, no leaks. Okay, now we're back upstairs, and this is in the closet on the back side of the shower. So I'm going to tie the new lines into here. I'm just going to make a cut on each side, about 4 cuts on each side, and then I'm going to slip the SharkBite tees, half-inch tees, into place here, and the PEX pipe will come from here and go back down into the space up under the house, which is the work area. And like I said, I've been in this house under 2 years. This is the first time seeing the back of this. I cut this open here, and I see some stuff that they did. This is the SharkBite tee, and these are my mini cutters. That's for getting little tight spaces. Like I said, I've lived here less than 2 years, and I'm seeing all kinds of things that do need to be changed. And during the course of living here, I will be making some changes on some of this stuff. I'll probably be removing that tub and shower component, the enclosure. And of course, we'll make some changes right here too. Now, I've already made one cut. Now, I do have to make another cut. But for now, I'm just going to, I'm going to get back there and cut it. But what I'm doing now is just putting the SharkBite tee, half-inch tee, onto the PEX pipe. Just in case I lose it and it tries to fall back down the hole, that tee will catch it and I can reach back out there and grab it. And it won't go all the way down to the next floor. This is probably the hardest spot to work in. You can't see it, but it's a small, you know what the little closet, the linen closet, it's like behind the tub and shower. It's tight. Now this is what we call a reamer. Once you cut the copper pipe, there's going to be a small indentation going inside the pipe. It's very sharp, so you want to use the reamer to ream out the access piece of pipe that's bridged in there and it's very sharp. And especially if you're going to use SharkBites, you don't want any sharp edges. And another thing, if you've noticed, hot is always on the left and cold is always on the right. So if I flip this around and I was in the shower facing the shower wall, the side that I'm working on now is the hot. It would be the left side. And I'm sure you're probably wondering, when you connect the SharkBites, when do you know it's in far enough? Me personally, I've been doing it a while, and I could, actually feel it click in place. But there's always another practice that you can use is to mark your pipe, the depth that it's going to go into the SharkBite, and once you're at that mark, you know that you're in there. As always, if you have any questions that you would like answered, anything I can help you with, leave a message in the description box. Also, don't forget, this is a challenge. Give me some type of idea of the best place that you would like to put a upflush toilet like this in your home, your garage, or where have you. And what you hear now is I turn the water back to the house on, and I'm just kind of letting the lines bleed out and also coming up here to check for any possible leaks. And again, giving it the once over. Just kind of panning over the project that's going on. Almost everything is complete except for the drain on the utility sink here. The lights you're seeing, those were my prop lights. Okay, this is the vent that I was telling you about earlier that has to be vented out separately, and it's going 2 feet above the window. And now I'm going to run the drain line to the utility sink, which is going to be different than what I'm used to. Normally I would put a sanitary tee right here and catch another vent going up, but it's not required on this particular unit, or should I say grinder pump. It's not required on the grinder pump because it has its own venting system. But I still will add a P-trap to the up under the sink as well. And this here is an adapter. This is a 1.5 inch adapter. This is going to adapt the Schedule 40 PVC down to the thin wall PVC. Now that I have the drain set in place, I can go ahead and scoot the utility sink back. Now the tricky part of this job here right now, installing the utility sink, is going to be the supply line. Like I said, it's not the braided supply line that a lot of people are used to nowadays. It's a lot flexible and you just move it around anywhere you want. This here is stiff, rigid tubing that will have to be cut to fit. Again, I would recommend that if you're going to do this project and you don't have a lot of the proper tools to do, get the stainless steel braided water tubing, supply tubing. And another thing with this tubing, you're going to need the brass ferrule that you can see right there on the end of it. You can barely see it, just right at the end. That's the ferrule. That'll slide up and down, and that's going to fit between the supply nut and the valve itself, and it's going to compress, and that's what seals it. And I'm trying to give you the best angle with the camera that I can. There's the brass ferrule I was telling you about. Now you can see it much better. And what is good is I don't have this utility sink anchored down right now, so I got some move and play in it, and I can move it around a little bit. You can see how much harder it is to work with this supply line opposed to the braided supply line. And being a old school plumber, it took me a long time before I got used to using the flexible supply line, the braided supply lines, because I felt like I was cheating or something wasn't right. I was so used to using it and using this type of supply line, which is pretty difficult to work with compared to the other one. And I know to some of you out there that are watching this video, a lot of this stuff is pretty straightforward and very simple. I just hope that you keep in mind that there are people out there that are beginners and people that would actually like to learn, how to do this, and they would just like to see a little more detail, or if not, just slow the camera down just a little bit. Okay, what I've done here, This is not actually part of plumbing video. This is something that I did personally. I didn't have a plug outlet next to it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not being an electrician here, and I'm not trying to run any electrical wires. All I'm doing is making me a homemade extension cord. One end is going to have a plug in it, and I'm going to run it across the ceiling to the other side and plug it into a plug outlet. That's the extent of my electrical ability. There may be some electricians looking at this right now, probably frowning on it. But right now we're going to just get this to work. And I could have actually just ran an extension cord. And in the near future, I know I'm going to need an electrician because I'm going to need some additional plug outlets, not only here, but other parts of the house. Okay, that's enough of the electrical. Let me get back to the plumbing. All right, and now I have the electrical hooked up where I want it to be right now, and I have pretty much got it set up, and I'm giving you another overview before we get things going to see how this toilet is going to perform, and the not actually the toilet, but the grinder pump itself. And just again giving you an overview of the setup and how it's set up. And again, I'm sure that you guys have some great ideas of where you would put this Upflush toilet in your home, a garage, or wherever you might like to put it. Again, in the description box, let me know. You can see the inside of the tank looks just like any normal toilet. The only difference is it doesn't have a refill tube, and the refill tube means the part, there's a little tube that goes to the top to refill the tank. I mean the bowl. And what I'm doing here now is just releasing the water from the tank and filling the bowl up with water. This may be one of the drawbacks for you guys because it is electric, and if you don't have electricity ran to it, you're not going to get it to flush up. See, normally right now you would see a little tube in there feeding water to it. And I haven't plugged it in yet, so you'll see the water kind of gradually come up. Okay, now I'm going to plug it in, and we're going to see how this works. And there you have it, an Upflush toilet. I've got to say it's a lot quieter than a standard toilet. Again, I'm Claude Taylor, and thanks for joining me here on How To Plumbing. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Like to become a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. Also, leave comments in the description box below. And once again, if there's anything in this video that you see any of them that you might like, the items, you can purchase those items at the How To Plumbing Store and Amazon.com, and the link is in the description box below.